got a spot right now. Well, actually, it looks like Shannon was going to ask something. Go ahead, Shannon.
My question is, do you find your current state, whenever you describe it, it sounds kind of depressing to me. I mean, what is it like to live in the place that you are right now
I
with
am.
your?
I feel freer than I've ever felt before. I don't feel like I have somebody watching and supervising my every single move, telling me what I should eat, what I shouldn't eat, what I should believe, what I shouldn't believe. Um, I find it very scary that I talk to people and they say, "Well, I need God to be a good person because if God isn't real, there's nothing stopping me from killing and raping and doing whatever I want to." And that's my response to them is please stay in church, please, because I don't feel like I need a God to stop me from doing things. I am a humanist along with an atheist. I'm a skeptic, atheist, and humanist. So I always look out for people's well-being, of the well-being of humanity, to where right now I'm kind of fighting whether I can bring well-being to be an objective foundation of morality, because everybody can have their subjective opinion on what's
Yeah.
well-being for them. But if it's human well-being, if I was to lop Noah's head off right now, he would drop to the ground. That would not be good for his well-being. So we can say, hey, I don't want my head chopped off, and I don't think you want your head chopped off. So let's come together as a community and not chop people's heads off. And then we just grow from there.
It's interesting. When you said that, the image that came to mind was somebody who graduated high school and just gone to college and now was free from his parents.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
I am freer than I've ever felt right now.
So
okay,
what would you say is the purpose of your life then?
The purpose of my life is to, one, reproduce, and try and make the world a better place for the generations below me. To which we have found time and time again that science has consistently given us the best methods that we can. The reason that we're able to speak to each other over this computer is because of science. The reason that we're able to clone things is because of science. The reason we have museums is because of science. And I've spoken to a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is any one of your guys' positions as a theist, but I've spoken to people that says, don't worry about climate change, don't worry about global warming. God's gonna fix it. And I'm completely against that. I'm saying let's get into the laboratory and let's create people that uses critical thinking and skepticism to try and narrow our answers down to be able to fix this world. Because I don't think it's going to fix. I don't think a God's going to fix it for us. I believe that we need to do something about it.
But Scripture tells us that we are to be good stewards of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
that we are to take care of God's creation. So Christians should be involved in the care of the earth. Now it's debatable what that is, and what the science on that is all debatable, but but true caring for creation and the earth is certainly something that Christians should be involved in.
So, can I add something real quick?
Absolutely.
Um, First of all,
I think you
You're
froze.
frozen.
You froze.
um,
Oh, you're
There
good
you
now.
go.
You're good now.
I know. I think I'm going to have to find a. You said make sure it's not doing Wi-Fi, and I'm on Wi-Fi. So here it is. So you mentioned the cloning was a good thing.
I don't know if cloning is a good thing as in moral. I don't think you could say cloning is a moral or immoral thing. I'm just saying that if we were to clone animals, let's just say clone animals, because there was a population issue, the ability to be able to do that would be a good thing for let's just say if we clone cows because we have a lack thereof, that would be a good thing to produce things that we need as humans.
Right. Right. And so that. I think you're using cloning as a basis of saying, okay, science has proven to be a good thing because we can clone, and we can. So, but for every one successful clone, there's I don't know, let's just be conservative and just say 25 to 100 cloned creations that are horribly disfigured and horribly maligned. And what about their life? I mean, their life is and then destroyed.
Absolutely.
For one clone.
I agree with you. And would you agree with me that one bad creation to where something is deformed and it doesn't have a quality of life, one of those is too many?
I'd say one of those is too many, yeah.
Absolutely. So if we look at intelligent design, there are children that are born with their organs outside of their body. There are conjoined twins. There are children that are born that they don't have a very good quality of life, and some of them don't even survive an hour outside of the womb. Now, I don't have an answer for cloning and whatnot because I'm not a scientist. But if we look at it from a perspective, if I give you, for conversation's sake, intelligent design, why do those things happen?
Sure. And so my response would be, we're talking about a broken world. So again, this is a Christian worldview. So we're saying that with the fall came the whole creation, cosmos. So the things that are trying to happen on Pluto, whatever, are just as broken as things that are happening inside a woman's body. And so the difference between cloning and those kinds of things these are active purposes that we're trying to do to create. When it comes to the brokenness of our world that we live in, we do have to make some of those tough choices. I mean, with our daughter, the reason why the doctor said to us, if it was just her heart, we could probably fix it. If it was just her lungs, we could probably fix it. But it's both, and we just can't fix it. And so, and I had to ask that question of God. I said, God, what is this all about?
It froze up again.
Did it freeze again?
Yeah, at the very end.
Just the very end.
So, it's interesting, John chapter 6, verse 66, there's...
ironic.
Ironic, yeah. And especially if you read it. If you read it, it says, and all the disciples left him. And right after that, Jesus turns to the 12 disciples and says, so are you going to leave too?
So I'm going to take a screenshot.
Yeah, no. No, don't, Shannon. She's taking a screenshot. So we all, I mean, I think I heard somebody say, we all have reasons to not believe in God. Every single one of us has a reason that we don't, that God has, that there's no God. Some of us have very small reasons, like my house didn't sell when I wanted it to. And some people have very large reasons, like I had to survive the Holocaust.
Yeah, I personally would disagree with those people. That let's just say something bad happened in your life, and now you're mad at God, so you're not going to believe in Him for that.
Right.
I don't typically agree with that. No, I can't say that they're wrong because that's their subjective opinion. That's their position that they want to hold because of that reason. I'm just simply not a Christian or not a theist anymore because I've looked at the evidence and I can falsify all of it.
Right. Well, and so I'll bring it back to my point, and I'll be quiet. You were bringing up that science is a good thing, and I keep on wanting to say is, so the science of COVID. I mean, where is that all about? It's all over. Look at people who say science. I freeze again. Golly. Here's the problem. My only direct interface is in my office where my wife is, and so the only other option is I could stand behind her and cheat your
by all means, if you want to bring a chair in there and you guys sit together,
that way you could bring in Shannon in. That way I'll drop
absolutely.
off. You could bring Shannon.
Shannon's not in, but I got my good friend Mike who's sitting in the back waiting to come in too.
All right.
He's been smiling, so I think he's got a couple of things that he'd like to add.
So while we're waiting, can I ask you a question, Justin?
Absolutely.
So, thinking about you, the idea of wanting to make the world better for those, part of your purpose in life is to make those better for those who come after you. If those who come after you have the same existence as you, I don't see a big picture. Are we just trying to always just make something better for someone else? I don't know if that. I don't know if I could be okay with. That's all there is to this.
So what my question would be is, do you not want to make the world a better place for your kids? Which I think I know the answer. Obviously, I think you would want to make the world a better place for your kids, and that is good enough for me. If my only purpose in life was to make the world a better place for the generation below me, I'm totally happy with that.
And then what do they do with their life? I mean, it's just so that they can have 60, 80 years of this life, and generally things go well for them. I mean, and then they die, and they hope that things go okay for
they make a better life for the generations below them, and it's just an ongoing cycle on trying to make the world a better place for every single generation. Now, I don't want to say that I'm special and that, you know, my purpose here is beyond understanding. I don't know if there's an afterlife. There very may well be an afterlife. But I do know this for sure, that this life that I'm living, that I'm using to have this conversation with you right now, I know this life. And as far as I know, as an absolute sense, this is the only life that I know that I have. So I'm going to cherish every single moment. It does say in scriptures that this life right here is equivalent to dirty rags. Basically somewhere just to wipe your feet, because the next life that comes is so much better. I don't know I have that next life. And if I just use this life as dirty rags to wipe my feet off with, what am I really doing for the one life that I know that I have? And along with that, there's a saying, be glad when an atheist is nice to you, because he's not trying to get into heaven. He's not trying to, you know, do things to be able to make it into heaven. I just want to be a good person because that's who I am. That's what I want to be. And I'm perfectly fine with that without a God.
If I could add something in there just really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked what you said about purpose, and kind of piggyback on what Justin was saying. The way I look at that is just kind of, you know, if you're eating a meal, you don't say, why bother eating the meal? I'm just going to have to eat another one. You know, kind of what's the point of eating this meal? You're enjoying the meal in and of itself. You know, so yes, eventually that food is going to be gone, but the point is that you've enjoyed the meal. You've added your seasonings, or you put your world into that particular meal, and it might take, you know, everyone's meal is going to, you know, last the different variations of time, right? It's, you know, it's going to either be a few minutes for some, or, you know, however long. But the whole point is that you've enjoyed the meal. You don't look at it like, I'm not going to watch this movie because eventually it's going to show credits and it's going to be finished. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me personally, I don't look at it like, you know, what is my purpose or who's giving me purpose? That just seems very strange to me. You know, you might agree, if someone were to point to your family and say your family is going to be designated to be street sweepers, so your children's 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 children, you know, would be these elevator operators or street sweepers. That sounds very sick and very crazy. But a lot of people say this is something they look forward to. They want a plan for them, to plan it out for you. It just basically, it's like a potato chip bag clip. You know, you could say the purpose of the potato chip bag clip is to, yes, clip a potato chip bag closed. But if there weren't any potato chips, the clip wouldn't cease to have purpose. You know, you could clip it to your tie, or clip a bunch of CDs, or put it on your tongue to be silly, and that makes somebody laugh. So that's the purpose in that moment. It's infinite purpose to whatever our minds can think of. It's just, you know, what do you want its purpose to be? The many ways you can manipulate that pincer, that plastic pincer, to have use. So to ask, you know, what is your purpose? It's like, well, today, I want to be spending more time with my daughter, so I show up late to the Empathetic Atheist show. I want to teach her how to ride a skateboard today, and maybe, if I get in a car accident tomorrow and I die, that she had a good memory of me today. And I taught her how to treat other people well, or I did something good. And if you say, well, why bother doing any of that? Because everything's eventually just going to, I assume you understand entropy, or the universe, as far as we know, will eventually cease to have life in it. There's no obligation to, sure, we could all just lay down and wait for our bodies to expire. We could do that. But just for the same reason that you would eat a meal or you would watch a movie, because you can, versus just laying there and waiting to die. It's your life, and if you, whatever purpose you would like to give yourself, it's on an individual basis. So it's, so Justin, wouldn't be able to speak for, some ultimate golden rule or golden idea of what the purpose is for an atheist. I mean, he's just speaking for his individual purpose. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it is that we're all trying to discover our own purpose. And it's beautiful in that sense, because no one else is telling you what you should be doing or what you ought to be doing. You're taking it upon yourself to figure out what's special about your life and what you would like to, present to other people, and how you would like to influence them in a good way, hopefully. And I mean, that's basically it. That's my view on that. So
yeah. So you said you had a daughter?
Yep.
Yep. So you adore her, love her. She's everything, right?
She's not everything.
She's not everything. She's
no.
of high value to you. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so, I mean, do you put boundaries for her? Do you say, you can't run out into the road?
Do I put boundaries for her? Sure. We'll go with that, yes.
Yeah. Like, if she begins to run out into the road, you're going to say, don't run out. You might even grab her arm and yank her back if she's close to a busy highway.
Well, hold on. I think I see where you're going with this. You're going to try to make this some kind of equivalency to the Bible and the Ten Commandments, et cetera, with God giving you the boundaries and how to live your life, et cetera. But the thing is, I can tell my daughter that I would like her to do something. If she's only 4, she's going to turn 5 in July. But whether she understands why I'm telling her to do something. Mm-hmm. Even if she's as smart as she's ever going to be in her whole life at 4, and I'm telling her, hey, you shouldn't touch this spider with the red dial, or go with strangers, or go on, touch this fire, or you drink this poison, or whatever it is. If I'm telling her, no, you shouldn't do this, and here's why, and I demonstrate to her why, just because I'm giving her the boundaries doesn't mean that what I'm telling her to do is the correct thing to do. If I'm just giving her these dictates, that's never going to be some objective thing that she must follow. She could prove me wrong about something. Something that I've demonstrated in the past before could have been a misinterpretation on my part. So there's always something I can learn from my daughter that she can correct me on, which I don't think is the same playing field that you're coming from.
So would you say that what I'm hearing is that you're equating it to, you want to give her the chance to have as much experiences so that she can make her own determination. Would that be fair?
Right, that I would just be input. I can only teach what I don't forget.
Right, and you have your finite experiences, and she can catch up to that, and at which point you could be learning from her,
or surpass. Right, exactly.
Right.
Thank you. And thank you. Yes.
So along that same lines, if you have an infinite being that has an infinite more experience, wouldn't that be similar to that? They want us to get to that point where we can make wise choices and decisions?
No, but I think the indication there, the distinction there, as you just highlighted, would be, I'd be able to have an opportunity to surpass the wisdom. I'd have an opportunity to contest the wisdom.
Right, and I'd say that the Christian worldview is that we'll never have that opportunity.
Well, as far as I can tell, I mean, I could be wrong about that. That would just further prove my point. But what I'm saying is something like slavery, for example, as understood or taught back then, can obviously be determined to not be a good teaching. It's not some dictate that must be the case, such as Exodus 21, etc.
Okay.
I still think.
Yeah.
Oh, can I interject something?
Sure.
I still feel if you saw your daughter running towards something dangerous that could take her life, that you would not scream, no, stop, that you would not do what it took to convince her to not do that thing that would threaten her life, that would cause harm to her, because you're a loving father. A loving father says stop, or says don't touch the fire, don't.
But then we would never have a woman in outer space. We would never have anyone climbing Mount Everest. We would never have any skateboarders or anybody doing any type of risk-taking
I'm not talking about
of any sort. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying like everything has a boundary. I'm just saying that there are boundaries. I'm not saying that that everything has to be held in a boundary, but there are life and death situations. A loving father is going to say a life-threatening situation. I want to protect you from that. And if that's going to mean me saying no or stop, I will do those things because I'm. But
don't you find that don't you find that a little bit ironic that the loving parent that you're appealing to decided to have their child just basically die? That's kind of that's the issue that I'm looking at this from, is that I'm talking about my human 4-year-old daughter, who I might set boundaries for with some type of skepticism of, am I doing the right thing, constantly checking myself, versus creating my child for the purpose of dying to serve some purpose that I've determined before her conception. I mean, you're going to cross the street and be hit by this driver because they've wronged me in the past and I want them to go to jail. So I'm going to impregnate my wife to purpose you for this. It's not remotely the same thing, but that's kind of the difference here. So I mean, this equation. I mean, I appreciate it, but do you understand where I'm coming from with that? Is that
are you
talking about
God and Jesus with creating a child to kill them?
Well, with the crucifixion and being, I mean, I assume your deity from your worldview is omniscient. It knows everything. It knows all things. Right. So then the outcome of that crucifixion would have been known prior to, Mary being pregnant, etc. So what I'm saying is I'm not impregnating my wife to have a child, to get to the age 33, and dictating to them that they must die, purposing their lives, as to come full circle here, purposing their lives to die at 33 to serve my means. That's
right. And of course, you recognize huge differences. You're also not God, so your purposes are. I mean, if you were to do that,
that's why I was saying it was a false equivalency to compare my daughter with
well, I
the outset.
agree that, but even Christ, as we believe it, was given the choice.
Yes.
He didn't have to go to the cross. He chose to.
Right. First of all, Jesus wasn't created. He's part of the Trinity, so he's a part of eternity past. And Scripture says, no one takes my life. Jesus said, "No one takes my life. I give it up of my own will."
I think there was also a scripture to where Jesus had said, "God, please, if it is possible, can I please pass the cup to somebody else?" And he didn't pass the cup, which means that it wasn't possible. So Jesus was determined to die on the cross regardless of what he wanted.
Right.
No, he said,
you beat me to it.
no, he said, what he said was, he says, God, Father, if there's any other way, then let this cup pass from me, but not my will. Your will be done.
Right. Your will, not my will.
Not my will. So that's a choice, saying, but not. So let this cup pass. So the
if
choice.
Something's happening against your will.
No. He said, not my will be done, Father.
Right.
I am submitting myself to your will to be done.
Right.
So if you ask me to do something, and I say, yes, I will do what you have asked, I'm not being forced to do it. I understand that it's your will. I understand that you desire me to do it, but I've agreed to do it. I am admitting, as Jesus here, saying this is in my humanity, because Jesus is fully human at this point. He's experiencing all the fear and he knows the pain and the dread of what is coming, and so we're told that he's sweat drops of blood. He is in extreme anguish and anticipating what's coming, and so he says, God, I know this is the plan. Is there any other plan? And he says, no, this is the plan. And he says,
right.
Okay.
You got